module of web-based dashboards. Today, what we want to do is keep it simple. We want to set up the environment locally on our computers to run fastAPI, the fastAPI software. Basically, we want to be able to run a web application locally on our computer. Now, we set up our Octeto accounts, and if you guys saw, you guys now have full access. You guys can log in into your accounts and et cetera, et cetera. We want, and you'll see that, they have a couple buttons and all this other stuff. We'll talk about that, right? We want to be able to send our files, which we build locally, and put it on Octeto machine. Now, ideally, we want to be working straight on Octeto because Octeto will have our database set up. We won't have, especially when you guys are like dealing with a lot of data, not necessarily for this project, but for any kind, if you're dealing with, not the project that I'm doing, but if you're dealing with your own project, you might have a lot of data, right? And you don't want to store it in your machine, or it might be too much for your machine. You want to stick it on Octeto, right? That's the whole point of having these cloud-based applications, right? Same thing with the processing. You might not want to process it on your computer. You want to process in Octeto. So we'll get to that. But I mean, we want to start off with the basics, at least from a learning point of view. And before we can do that, I just want to get a web application running locally on your machine. For me personally, sometimes I'm not connected to the internet. Sometimes I'm traveling. Sometimes I'm like wherever. And I just want to bang out some code, right? Maybe I'm testing something. Maybe I want to change something. And at the module level, I want to work something out. So I like having a localized environment on my computer for that reason. But ideally, we'd like to have everything sync up, or ideally, we'd like to just work with our environment in Octeto. So we'll get to that, all right? So for module 2, what we want to do is basically set the environment locally, all right? And that's also required. That also includes setting up our local Python deployment and our local IDE that we're going to use, right? We're outside the scope of Anaconda now. Now, look, we do have Anaconda on your machines, right? But in this case, it's better to use a lightweight editor we're going to use called Atom, right? We're going to download that to do our web application, all right? Because, I mean, outside of PyCharm, the stuff, you can use PyCharm too. The reason why I didn't go with PyCharm, because it's a very big application. I like sticking with Atom. I like keeping things a little bit light, a little user-friendly. Also, the cool thing with Atom is it's very customizable, right? So, I mean, people like PyCharm, some people like Atom, whatever. We'll just start with working with Atom. So first things first, before we even do that, we have to download Python. Now, again, you guys are like, what are you talking about? We have it in our Anaconda. So that's in our Anaconda system, and I understand that. But for this purposes, I mean, if we want to create a local environment, right, it's just easier to download the Python package. So I want you to go to the Python page, right? You just stick on Python right here if you want in Google. Right there. And again, if you just go down to the downloads right here, and you'll see it right off the bat, the computer sees that, look, I'm on a Mac. The latest Python is 3.9.5. Go ahead, click on that, and download that. All right, I already did that, so I have it. So you guys go ahead and click on it and download it. All right, once you have Python, right, again, click on downloads. The button's right there. Download it. Done. If you're on a Mac, just slide it into your apps. For my PCs, I think you have to usually execute something. From here, we want to go download Atom, all right? And if we go back here to Google, I'll just open another tab, type in Google, literally just type in Atom, right? And the first thing you see here, guys, is this cool little screen right here, this little creature right here. And again, Atom sees that, what operating system I'm on, and there's a download. And again, download that for you guys, download it for my PCs as well. And again, like I said before, Atom is freeware, just like R. It has programmers around the world constantly building packages to try and make it better, right? And for all aspects, including web application development. So that's why I was like, you know what, let's just grab Atom. Keep it simple. So go ahead, download this. For my Mac, slide it into your apps. Again, for my PCs, execute it, and you're good to go. So we got the Python, we got the Atom. All right, now what we want to do is we want to open up Atom, and we want to customize a little bit, right? We want to open up Atom, and we want to customize a little bit. So go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and open it for you, show you guys here. All right. slide it over here, and you guys will see something like this. Now your screen will be in black, right? I changed the styles of mine, and you can change that relatively easy. Black I feel it doesn't work for me, so I mean the black is just too heavy for my eyes. I like a grayish. I don't like white. I like a grayish color. But you can change that. Like if you guys go click on Atom right here and go to Preferences, these are the Macs. These are the Macs. You can go down here Themes, and you have these different themes that you can mess around with. Right? Which one you want to choose? You can choose a theme for the. You can choose a UI theme or a syntax theme, right? So the syntax is how the colors of the letters work out when you're typing in. The UI theme is basically like what the background you want it to be. So that's how you do it right there, right? So again, in our cases, we want to install some libraries, just like we do with R, just like we do with Python. We want to install some libraries, right? How do we do it? For my Macs, just like I showed you before, you come over here under Atom. You see Preferences there. You need to get to Preferences, right? You need to get Preferences. Let me slide this over a little bit, right? You need to get Preferences. This is what you need to see, these Preferences, right? For my Windows, what you have to do is you have to go to File, and under File you have something called Settings, all right? When you click on Settings, there, something like this should pop up for you. All right, what you're looking for here is basically Packages, something called Packages, and something looks like Install. Install is where you install the new packages, right? And those are basically packages in the world of Atom is basically what we call R. It's just like in RStudio. Like we know in R we had packages, in Python we had libraries, same concept, right? You install it here, and then when you go to packages, this is where you can see it and customize your packages a little bit. Enable, disable, whatever you want to do, right? So the first package I want to install is the, right, again, click on install there, is the script package. It's called script, right? So I'll go here, and I'll type in script. And when you do that, right, you see that for me, see for the other scripts, you'll see a button like this for you guys install. Notice I don't have an install one because it's already on my machine. So for the rest of you guys, you want to go ahead and click on the install button for script, all right? One of the other cool things you can notice as it's downloading is look how it also tells you, Atom tells you how many times this package has been downloaded, 3.8 million times. That's pretty cool in the sense that you can find which are the popular packages for any kind of project you're doing. So that's a lot. So that tells you something, right? And once you have that finally installed, right? Well, I'll show you guys how to use it in a second. Let's go ahead and install some more things I want to do. Another thing I want you guys to install is called Platformio Ide Terminal. All right, so let me go here again. Platformio Ide Terminal, right here, this one. All right, boom. And just like before, you see that it's already installed for me. For the rest of you guys, just click on the blue little cloud install button. Notice this one has been installed 15.8 million times, right? Again, very popular. Very popular, all right? Now, the last one, I don't think we'll use that much, but I want you guys to have it just in case. It's called Atom Python Virtual Environment. This one. All right, same thing, downloaded, you're ready to go. All right, cool. So those are basically, we're starting off with 3 packages I want you guys to get for your Atom. All right. Now what we want to do is we're going to test out our Python. We're going to test out our Python. All right. All right. But first, what you want to do is create a directory for this class, guys. Let me go get out of here. I can kill my welcome guide too. All right. What you want to do is first create a folder for this class. All right. I have a folder for this class. I'm going to go ahead and open it. Once you create a folder for this class, all right, I have a folder right here called Web Dashboard. A couple folders in here, and I created a folder called Website under Web Dashboard for our project, basically. All right. So website. I created this folder for the class. All right. Now what I want to do I'm going to go ahead and once I create that folder, I'm going to add it. The way you add it, see over here it says literally add folders. You can do it through here, or you can do it through file, add project folder, right? Just do it this way. And I'll click on the folder that I want, which is website right there. Click open. Boom. All right. Now I have a lot of stuff going on here. This is the stuff for you guys are going to do. We'll get to this in a second. Right now, you guys should just be seeing whatever you named your folder, class folder. You're going to put this Python script. You just be seeing a simple website, right? Ignore all this stuff for now. You don't have that. Now what I want to do, I'm going to create a new file. And here I got a new file. All right, let me zoom in a little bit. And basically what I want you guys to just check out, just want to make you guys to make sure that, hey, this thing is working, right? So I'll literally do file, save as, and it pops up right in the folder that's over here. And I'll literally call this test. I'll delete it a little bit later. Whatever you name, just like in Spider, guys, whatever you name a new file, make sure you give it a .py extension so that your program knows that it's a, so Adam knows it's a Python file, right? I click on this, boom, you see test py show up there, and I'm gonna just put some code in there. I think the code I had put in for you guys, in my slides I do mod1py, whatever you guys want to name it. A lot of you guys know how this stuff works anyway. So I want you to do a very simple code here. Check this out. Right? Very simple code. X equals 5, y equals 9, z equals x plus y. Then print out c. Very simple. How do I run this now? Right? Well, go up here to packages. Right? And hopefully, I think the PCs, you guys also have a packages up here as well. So my Mac's packages. And what happens is here's all your packages out of the box that are pretty much there for you to use. Remember, the packages we just downloaded script. That's the one I want. See that script? And this allows you to run your script file. So if I want to run the whole script, I literally for Macs, I call Command I. Notice here to the right, it has your shortcut key. My PCs, I'm not sure what your command is. I want to say it's Control Shift I maybe. I'm not sure, but you'll see it. If you come here to run script, again, you can just click on this right there. And down here, it's kind of small for the screen, but I think you guys can see it on your actual Atom IDE. You'll see the 14 there. You'll see the 14 there, right? And so we know it works, right? And again, for my, come back here again, script, run the whole file. My PCs over here, you'll show you the keywords you need to use to run it from your keyboard. So for me, it's Command I. So if I did literally, let me change the number here to 50, whatever. And I do Command I. You see down here, it's now 59. Again, it's too small for you guys. But I can just run the script using Command I. Very straightforward, right? For any of you guys that want to practice your Python, et cetera, whatever, very straightforward. You can do it here in Atom. All right, cool. All right, so from here, if you got this working, you're good to go. Right, now, we went over this already. Now we want to get to the point of creating a virtual environment, okay? What is a virtual environment? What is a virtual environment, and why do I need this in my life? Okay, well, remember in business analytics programming when I had you guys download some libraries, right? Here and there I would have you download, let's see, if I can remember, requests. Remember for Lab 6 where we were scraping that website? Remember we were scraping a website and I had you guys pip install some packages? Or even for the Twitter stuff, I had you guys install some Twitter libraries, right? And we used that pip command. When we used that pip command, what ended up happening was that those packages got loaded up in our environment that was basically run by Anaconda, if you want to think about it, okay? It was run by Anaconda. Now, in the world of Python, and this is very annoying, but Python doesn't separate their libraries by different versions. So if there's a package we want, let's say, it's a sort of program, like program C. Let's say we have two programs, program A and program B, both Python programs. And both programs are using logic in program C. The way Python works is that if it is another version of Program C, there's not a separate folder in the architecture for it. It's going to just be that same version will reside in the Program C folder, right? This is in the back end of Python. So if that's the case, what ends up happening here is if Program A needs the old version of Program C, or what did I write here? Let's say Program A needs the newer version of Program C, but Program B is using the older version of Program C. This can cause a problem, right? It can cause a problem if the upgrade in Program C is affecting B. So the way Python gets around this, it creates a concept called virtual environments to make my life more difficult, right? I mean, in the end, though, it's probably safe to do this, especially with what we're doing anyway, since we're going to be running a server on our laptops, right? So what Python allows us to do, we can create a virtual environment where we set up the environment with whatever packages and libraries we need and run our code within that environment. And the reason why we would do that is so that in this example right here with Program A and Program B, we would set up one virtual environment with the older version of Program C, and we would set up another virtual environment with the newer version of Program C. And that way A can go ahead and run in the newer version virtual environment, and B can run in the older virtual environment. And everybody's happy. All right? For our purposes, we're going to be running an async, we'll call it UVcorn, an asynchronous server on our laptop, web server. Right? We don't want that sucker to cause any problems to our current operating system or anything else. It's small, it's safe, sure. But you want to mess around with stuff like that. Create a separate virtual environment that separates it out with your normal computer and run it off that, just to make everyone's life much easier. Right? So that's why we're going to go ahead and create a virtual environment. This is how all these Python applications tend to work. You set up a virtual environment, run your application there, set up another virtual environment, set up your application there, etc., etc. People just seem to love it. Whatever. Again, in BAP, we didn't need it. Anaconda managed all that nonsense for us. That was the beauty of Anaconda. It managed all the package versions and all the interdependence between different programs and the different versions of packages they use. This is why the first thing I made you do in BAP is download Anaconda. We don't have something like that for us, so we have to use a virtual environment. All right, how do we create a virtual environment? A virtual environment is created using the Python command in our terminal or a command prompt. Or I think for Macs we call it, what do we call it? Yeah, I think in Macs we call it a terminal. I think PCs, you guys have a terminal as well, or you have a DOS prompt or whatever that stuff. But to just make your life easier, this is why in Atom I made you guys download your own terminal. It just makes your life so much easier. All right. So if we come here, go to Packages again, and find Platformio Ide Terminal, and literally click on this for new terminal. Look what pops up, guys. It's literally a terminal. It's like a local terminal. In this case, it's a terminal pointing directly to my my current folder I'm in. If you press LS, it'll show you what files are in it. You can see all this stuff is already in it right here. Same thing. If you type in pwd, it tells you where you are in your path. Wild, huh? So for both, this is why I figured we might as well use this for both my Mac students and PC students. So we're all in the same place, and it just gets less hectic. If you want to use if you're comfortable using your own terminal on your Macs or your PCs, go ahead. You can run these same commands there. I'll just go ahead and run it here, just so we can overall on the same page. All right. So the first thing we want to do is I want to show you guys how, for some of you guys, if you just type in Python -V, it'll show you what the default package is. Now, on my Mac, it's version 2, which is crazy. Why is it version 2 when we downloaded the version Python? What's happening here? You see, the default Python for Macs, believe it or not, is a version 2 one. I don't know why it's not being serviced anymore, but our local Mac uses it. I don't know if your PCs are using it. It depends on what Windows build you're on. Are you an HP or you Dell, whatever, etc., right? Go nuts finding out. If you want to see what your latest Python 3 version is, right? If you type in Python 3-V, boom, that's what I downloaded, 3.3.95, and you guys should have that as well. we're going to create a virtual environment using Python 3. It's something that's built into Python 3, right? And again, we're going to do that because we want to use Python 3. We don't want to use Python 2. All right. So to go ahead and do that, we just use a simple command. Python 3-m space VNV space whatever you want to name your virtual environment. In my case, I name my virtual environment web dash, right? Web dash. And that's why, guys, over here in my existing folder, you already see a web dash there. All right. Boom. I'm not going to go ahead and execute this because I already have a virtual environment. This will go ahead, and remember, web dash is what I called it. You guys can call it anything you want. You can call it the Brooklyn Nets. You can call it fastAPI. You can call it, let's see, who's the latest actor? Sub-Zero. I don't know if you guys saw the Mortal Kombat, but Mortal Kombat had my 2 favorite foreign actors in it. The first 10 minutes, like it has one of my favorite Japanese actors and from The Last Samurai. I forgot his name. And then it also has the guy playing Scorpion is one of my favorite Japanese actors in martial arts. And Sub-Zero is one of my favorite new Chinese actors in martial arts. That guy is sick, right? That guy is sick. And unlike the other kung fu fighters, that guy is freaking built, right? Which normally you don't see with Chinese martial artists, but that guy is sick. Legit. Both those guys are legit. But anyway, why am I on this? Okay, anyway, yeah. Name it whatever you want here, guys. Name it whatever you want. I called it web dash. Whatever you're going to name it, that's going to be your virtual environment. That's going to be the name of the virtual environment. Execute it. It'll be created. Done. All right? I'm going to go ahead and delete this right here because I already have that there. So now you guys should have your virtual environment, right, in the folder you're in. So how do I get in my virtual environment? This is the command you're going to have to go back to over and over again. Source, the name of your virtual environment that you just created, web dash for me, /bin, this is the same for all of you, /activate, this is the same for all of you. You click on this, right, and you'll notice a subtle change. What is the subtle change? The subtle change now is that your prompt has this parenthesis with the name of your virtual environment before it. That's how you know you are now in your virtual environment. Another way to confirm that is now if I type in Python space V, remember before it gave me the Python 2 version. Now it's going to give me the local Python 3 version. Why? I used Python 3 to create it. Therefore, that is now the default Python. Boom. All right? Boom. See how much easier that is? Right? Again, one of the reasons we use virtual environments. So right now, guys, we are in our virtual environment. The folder structure is still there, right? But the point is, what libraries can we use this in the virtual environment? That's what it's all about, right? That's what it's all about. Now, again, to exit, if I want to go back and I want to get out of my virtual environment, you just type in deactivate. Bam. And I'm back out. I'm back into my normal computer. All right? It's that simple. Source, blah, 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 to get into it. Deactivate to get the heck out of it. Very simple and straightforward. All right, from here now, let's go back into our virtual environment and let's download the packages we want. Have some fun. Now's the time to have some fun, people. Like I said, this class, don't tell anybody. It's all about us having a good time, doing cool things, and having a good time. All right, so here, press this in. I'm back in my virtual environment. And now I'm going to download the libraries I need. Remember, from BAP, the function we use to download the new library is called pip install. Here it is, pip install. The first thing I'm going to download is the package fastAPI. Remember, that's our Python web framework we're using. Pip install fastAPI. Boom. Click on it. You're going to see crazy things come up. I'm not going to do it, but when you guys click on this, all of a sudden you're going to see these bars go all over the place, blah, blah, blah. It's downloading all this stuff, all right? After you do that, I should have probably recorded that for you. I'm going to go in here and now do pip install UVcorn. Notice how cute they are. They just changed the N for unicorn into a V for UVcorn. Whatever. Right? So go in here and now type in UVcorn. What is UVcorn? So fastAPI is our Python web framework that basically allows us to use Python to build websites if you want to keep it very simple, right? What's UVcorn then? UVcorn is basically our asynchronous web server that allows us to run web applications from our computer, small web applications from a computer. That's all it is. That's the only reason we're downloading this, so that we can test our code on our computer. Again, if you did everything on Octeto, you don't even have to do this. I just figure we should have it on our local machines, makes things easier before we upload things, right? Before we upload things. And it's the way Octeto works in some cases also, right? But hopefully we'll get to the point where we start working straight in Octeto. All right? So from here, go ahead and download this. Go ahead and download it. So now you guys should have fastAPI and UVcorn all in our environment. And the cool thing is, we pip this in our web, or in my case, web dash virtual environment, or our virtual environment, and those libraries now are not going to be seen by the normal computer. Keeps everything safe. This is why we can. UVcorn is a lightweight asynchronous web server, right? It's not going to cause problems anyway, but still, right? We don't want that headache. You just don't want that headache. All right, so I have UVcorn. Now, let's set up our folders and files. And now your folders and files are going to look like my folders and files, right? So here, within our website folder, let me open up a browser right here. Within our website folder, right, I have my virtual environment. Boom, web dash, whatever you guys named it. I have my test py. I can delete this later. It's not a problem. I want to create a folder called app, right there. App for application. Create a folder called app right here, in parallel to wherever your virtual environment is, right? Within app, you're going to create another Python file called app.py, or whatever you want to call it, right? I call it app.py. I should call it API.py, whatever. We can change that later, but whatever you name it, just remember what you name it, okay? Just remember what you name it. I'll show you why in a second. Also, within the same folder where you have app and your virtual environment, you're going to create another Python file called main.py. All right, main.py. Now look, I'm just naming these what I want. You guys can change the name to something what makes more sense when you guys get a little more comfortable. But that's what I want you guys to do. There's three things I want you guys to basically do at this point. I want you to create the app folder in the parallel to your virtual environment. And within the app folder, I want you to create a file called app.py. And also, in parallel to your virtual environment and the app folder, create another file called main.py. All right? And again, it's really easy to do. Right? You just come here, right, and do file, save as. And here I would create I already have a main one, but I would create my main.py. All right, create my main.py and save it. Or in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and open it. And this is my main.py. I'll show you guys what that means in a second. I'm not going to get too much into this in this module. Later on, the next module, we'll worry about this. Right now, I just want you guys to get the code working. I'll just show you some things here. And also, I want to get my app.py, like I said before. You want that, if you click on the folder, oops, click that out, do file, open, app right here, okay? So again, before I was on app, so here, so I clicked on app. And guys, here, you can create a new file and stick it in app.py. I'm just going to go ahead and open this, right? So I have my files open. And this is what app.py is. Once you have those files created and saved, now put the code. Now we're going to put the code in it. The same code I have right now for me. For app.py, go ahead and copy this and put it right here. Look how simple it is. This is your first web application, guys. So simple. Hello world example. Here, you guys have seen this syntax before. We're importing fastAPI from fastAPI, right? We're importing this library pretty much. This library allows us to create a variable called app. You call it app, APP. And now here, you guys have never seen this before. I've never showed you what this is before. This is basically, if you want, when you write a function, first of all, I've never showed you guys how to write a function before in Python, so this is new for you too. This def, welcome, we're defining a function, right? Just like we did functions in R, just like we use functions in Python, we can make our own function. That's what we do here. This tag that goes above it, this app.get, and I'll explain .get in a second. This basically is saying, hey, I think it's called a constructor in the world of Python. And what this basically says is, when you run this function, run whatever function this thing is part of as well. Run all these functions as well. So this represents a whole other bunch of functions that must be run when you run this function. So that's basically what's happening here, right? Or basically, this function is running first. These functions have to run first before this function can run. That's what we're basically doing. Now, this .get, this is in the world of, it's called web programming. When you get data, when you go to a URL for the first time, there's two commands your browser is giving that web server. It's giving either a get command or a post command, right? If it simply wants to go grab the website, your browser, it sends a get command. If it wants to post content to that website, again, think of a web form, then it's a post command. Here, we're simply defining a get command / What does that / mean? That basically means, hey, whatever URL you're given, let's say you have a domain called www.mango.com, right? www.mango.com. Basically, this / happens immediately after that domain. So because it's www.mango.com, because I'm just putting a / here, nothing else. This function, all the functions associated with this, and obviously this one, will be executed anytime a browser goes to www.mango.com. This is the function that will be executed. And you guys will see this in a second. So go ahead, write this code, save it. Now look, in the welcome function, this is what's going to be returned back when you type in www.mango.com or whatever. It executes this function and does whatever is in here. In line 7, what am I doing, guys? That's right, I'm creating a JSON object. Or a dictionary that's like a JSON object. Very simple. Keyword message, and the message is, hello world, welcome to fastAPI. Remember that? Remember JSON objects? Oh yeah! Go back in full force, guys. And then I return the JSON object. Very straightforward. All right? Now let's go to our main file. Our main file, guys, I'm doing just this. Here now import UVcorn, our web server. And in line 3, it's this very weird, don't question it too much, but basically you're going to say if name equals main, run this line. All right? UVcorn.run, and in the parentheses, again, we're running the server. We're running app.app:app. Now, this is my bad. I shouldn't have named the file app. I shouldn't have named everything app. This first app points to the folder app. To the folder app right here. The dot part points to the file in it that we want, called app.py. If this file instead, let's say you name this file snow.py instead of app.py, then this would be app.snow. Okay? App.snow. I did this, I confused you, and I'm so sorry. Now, in the app.py file, right, you'll notice we defined an app. That's in the fastAPI app. That is what's being called here, this app. That's what's going to run. This is what's going to run. And we define what this is in line 3 and then the code afterwards. And when you're defining more and more website pages and functionality, it gets all wrapped into this object called app. Come here, right? We define the host. Again, we're running on our local machine, and it doesn't matter what the host is. So that's why we said 000 done. Port 880, we have to keep it port 880 because Octeto runs on 880, port 880. So keep it port 880, right? We could work with that later. So remember, just keep it port 880. Reload equals true. What this basically means is anytime the code changes, you don't have to reload the server all the time, right? That's what it basically means. Reload equals true, meaning that we don't have to keep rerunning the changes. We don't have to keep rerunning the changes. All right. And again, this is just a simple command to run unicorn, the unicorn server. This will matter a little bit less once we start putting our code into Octeto. Okay. So go ahead and we're going to run this now. And the way we run this is I'm already in my virtual environment. See that? Save this, main.py, main.py, press ls. You can confirm main.py is there. To run this file, guys, all I need to do is just type Python and then the name of the file. And look what happens. Unicorn running on this. Control C to quit. If you want to exit out, I put this on the slides, but if you want to exit out of the server, because look, it's constantly running at this point, just write Control C. At this point, while it's running, right, our application is running on this URL on that port. Go to a browser. In this case, I'll go here. Put that right there. And look what you see. Zoom in, and it literally returns our JSON object. No headers, no pictures, no images, no fancy animation, just a simple JSON object comes back, all right? And this is where we start, right? But for everybody else, I mean, for all you guys, you guys have just created your first, web application. Congratulations, you created your first web application. So proud of you guys. All right. So you created your first web application. If you want, go ahead, have fun with this, guys. Mess around with the message over here. You can get more fancy, whatever. Have fun with it, right? Again, if you want out of the web server, again, I have that here, Control C. Before I get to that, I just want you guys to notice something. Notice how the website is not secure right now. It says not secure, right? This has to do with the fact that we don't have HTTP, or right there it says not secure. This is HTTP, it's not HTTPS. We're not going to worry too much about having a secure local website running on our machine, right? This is something we'll worry about in Octeto, right? When we get to Octeto. We want to have, when you write a web application, you need to have a secure web application or people won't trust your web app, right? In this case, we're running a dashboard, right? Who the hell is going to go on a dashboard that's not secure? So we need to have it secured, right? That's why all your URLs, this URL starts with like, oh, it's not showing here for some reason. Over here, I'll show you. See how it's HTTP? We need HTTPS. Everything now, all the domains now are HTTPS. The ones that aren't HTTPS now, and they're not HTTPS and they're not secured, they all have those non-secure symbols next to it, and that's not good for business, right? That's not good for business. So we'll deal with that when we're in Octeto, right? So at this point, if I want, I can play with this a little bit more. I could take a parameter. We could get more fancy, but this is just the first module. Remember, the modules, I want to try to keep them small and light as possible. So this is enough for our first module. And the next module, we will now want to focus on getting this code up into our Octeto environment so that we could run this not on our local machine, but again, we're going to run it on a browser, but we want to be able to run it on a browser. We want anybody to be able to run this on a browser and get our little JSON object recreate. Okay? All right? And that's our next step. All right, cool, guys. Hope you enjoyed this module. And wait for and now our next module will be basically getting this code to run on Octeto, our Octeto machine. All right? All right, guys, have a good day. Oh, by the way, before I let you go, remember again, if you want to get out of the web server, this is probably important to do. You should do Control C, and I'm out. And again, if you want to get out of your virtual environment, deactivate, and I'm out. If you want to close your prompt, you got the X right there, and you're out. It's that simple, guys. Can't be any more easier. All right. All right, guys. Have a good day. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.